and welcome back to Concert Critiques in Cars with Emily. So this show was technically like a special show. It was DC101-DERLAND's Night 1 show. So Cage the Elephant was the headliner, Winnetka Bowling League was the first opener, and then Lovely the Band was the second opener. So getting there was fine. The traffic wasn't bad, but I decided to park in a different parking lot just because I was like, well, you know, I'll try new things. Terrible. Like, just not worth it. But the one nice thing is my parking situation worked out okay in the end, but at the beginning I was not okay with the situation, so I will probably go back to parking at my normal parking garage when I go to the Anthem. But yeah, so that was a little bit disappointing. But again, kind of doesn't have anything to do with the show, but I tried a new thing, it didn't work in my favor, so that kind of was not great. Anyway, so let's get into the show. So Winnetka Bowling League, they had kind of a weird start, and so I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard what their start was, I was like, wait, are you like serious? Like, this is so disgenuine. And so it starts with like, thank you for like coming early to the show, and it's like a recording, and like some of the members were on the stage but not all of them, and I was like, that's just like really, I don't know. But then like as it kind of went on, and it was clearly supposed to be like nice and like kind of funny, I don't know, it just didn't really work for me, so that was not something that I was a huge fan of. And yeah, so anyway, I really loved the dual lyrics towards the end of the first song. That was definitely super grabbing. The whole song was pretty good, but that part in particular really grabbed my attention. I really liked a lot of their songs. The second song was about like California, and it definitely sounded like a song about California, so that was kind of like very almost like cliche, and they're from California, but it just like was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a song about California, so that was kind of funny. Then he told us a story about the last time they were in DC and how they got a package with, it just said Winnetka Bowling League, and so they opened it and it was just a pair of pants and they had no idea where it came from, so they thought it was like diseased, and yeah, so that was pretty funny. Really liked the third song, loved the bridge of the fourth song. And it's funny because I wasn't really a huge fan at the beginning of that song, but when that bridge came out I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely like awesome, so I really liked that. And then the fifth song, man, was where it really fell apart for me. I really was not a huge fan of the song. I don't know why. I just really wasn't feeling it. I didn't like the music. I didn't like the lyrics. I don't know. It just wasn't my thing. And so, yeah, so then they played their biggest single, which I thought they would have ended with, but they didn't. So that was kind of a surprise. And then after that, they played a song called CBS, and I actually really liked that song. It started a little bit slow, but it had a really cool build-up, and yeah, and so I really liked that song. So I thought that would have been a good place to stop, but of course, they had to play another song, and it was just like, like I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, it just was like fine, it was okay. But really wish they would have ended with either their biggest hit or CBS, actually, which I was surprised, because normally when a smaller band like that doesn't end with their biggest hit, I'm like, oh, come on, really? But they actually, I really liked CBS. Didn't love the last song, so definitely a few low points for that, but overall I really liked them. So then Lovely the Band came on, and they started with Make You Feel Pretty, which was such a good start. Really good first song, definitely pulls the crowd in, really like upbeat and definitely energetic, so that was really good. And then they played Emotion, which I don't really love that song just to begin with, like in general on the album, so that was like fine, and it was a good follow-up for sure, but yeah, just not my pace right after that song. And then after that, they played Coachella, which was a really good follow-up for Emotion, so that like worked out really well. And I do like Coachella a little bit more than Emotion, so yeah. Then after that, they played Alone Time, and again, it kind of like fit with that same vibe. So between Emotion and then Coachella, which is like a little bit of a slower vibe, and then Alone Time, so that those three like really did work well together. After that, they played a new song off their new album, which they said they're going to release this year, or this coming year, 2020. So that was good. I did really like the pre-chorus, so I'm excited to hear the digital version. I'm also just excited to hear new music from them, so that'll be awesome. After that, they played, well, so they introduced it as they're like really excited, this band like finally got got back together, and then he was like, so here's like One Direction, and then he ended up playing Teenagers by My Chemical Romance, which was awesome. Really liked that. Was really excited to hear that song. And then after that went into Maybe I'm Afraid, so that was awesome. And then they introduced the band, and apparently the drummer has an ankle that was hurt, so he's playing like lefty, which is like super awesome, and like kudos to you, like awesome. Thank you for playing still and being an opener for this band or for this show. And then they also had a guest bassist, I guess. So those poor guys. I hope they can rest up and kind of get better. And then they played These Are My Friends, which was just so good. I love that song, and seeing it live is just fantastic, so I really liked that. And then the lead singer talked about mental health, and I actually really liked what he said. And sometimes I feel like bands either brush over it or almost like get like too deep, or just kind of say things that are very generic. But I actually really enjoyed what he was saying about mental health. And yeah, so that was kind of a nice touch right before he played Broken, which is obviously their biggest song, which is, again, super awesome. And when they played Broken, the singer came to the barricade and like walked like up and down the barricade. So that was pretty cool. The one thing I will say overall with this band is there's not a lot of changes to the songs. They basically are just singing their songs on super loud volume. So that was a little bit disappointing, but again, I know a lot of their songs and I really love their albums, so seeing them live is great. But I do wish that there was a little bit more of a variation, just from the live show to the album. So that was my only little note on them. And then definitely the low point for me was probably Emotion, just because, I don't know, it's not my favorite. Anyway, so then there was like a ton of time between, and so here's my problem with this whole show in general, was the timing. So first of all, the show started at 7:30, which is totally appropriate. You had 3 bands. So then the opener got off at about 8, and then for some reason Lovely the Band went on at 8:30, at 8:30. Why didn't they go on at 8:15? And that was even more annoying, is Cage the Elephant didn't go on until 10. Why didn't you go on at 9:45? So it makes me mad because I had to pay an extra like $15 for parking in this new lot because I was, 10 minutes after my 3 hours. I got there at like 7:17 and got back to the parking garage at like 11:20 or 11:30, I guess. But it's just like annoying. If you had just started and done the timing the way that it was supposed to be done, I wouldn't have had to pay all this money. And also I would have been home earlier, could have gotten sleep, maybe had fixed my voice. It would have all just been awesome. So yeah, I was a little miffed about the timing of everything, if you can't tell. But anyway, let's talk about Cage the Elephant. Wow, that was like a really long rant, sorry. Okay, so they opened with Broken Boy, which was a great song to come out to. Really excellent, like so fantastic. Really excited to hear that song off their new album, and it was just super grabbing. So the lead singer came out in like this red suit and had like a red hat with like a red stocking, and at one point lifted the stocking up and there was like a mask underneath it. But basically just like moved around the whole time. There was like no second where the singer was standing still, which is awesome. It really made the whole show just overall, like, I am definitely going to be leaving out some details, but overall the show was just super exciting because he was just like up and down the stage the entire time, and it was awesome. So the second song I really didn't know, but it had a really cool instrumental bridge, which I really liked, so that was awesome. And then the third song was a song that I had heard but didn't know, so I'm assuming these were all from the new album, just because generally that's what bands tend to do, is they play like their newer stuff first, and then they kind of go into older stuff, and then they go back to newer stuff. And so for the third song, that's when he kind of took off the red hat and wore just the mask, which was underneath that sock thing. And he was just like stripping clothes, took off his top layer, and there was another layer underneath. So yeah, after that he played Too Late to Say Goodbye, so that was definitely a slower song, and and again, just like a lot of like he put the stocking back on his head. So again, I like that song, and I had heard that song before, but again, it definitely wasn't like the Cage the Elephant that I like came to see, because I didn't really know those 3 songs that were right in a row. And then after that, they played Cold, Cold, Cold. Totally forgot about this song, and I have been listening to Cage the Elephant, but I don't know, for some reason I just wasn't expecting this song, and it was awesome. It was such a good follow-up. And so I guess on the stage he had this duffel bag of like props, and so he pulled out sunglasses like halfway through the song, and then right after that they played Ready to Let Go, which was an fantastic follow-up, so energetic and just awesome. And then this time he pulled a yellow beret out of the duffel bag. It was just really awesome. Those 2 songs right in a row were so good. And then after that I played Social Cues, which I totally thought was going to come later in the set, but yeah. Social Cues was so fantastic. They had so many changes, like especially the second verse in particular, which just blew me away. Like so different. Just like the way that it was being sang, and just holding words and speaking some of them kind of, but not really. Like it was just so good. Just excellent. Was really excited about it. Really liked Social Cues. Was really impressed with Social Cues. After that, there was a song that I didn't know. I really liked the lyrics in the first verse, but the instrumentals were really off. And I said messy was the word I chose, but it was basically just like, it seemed like one note. There was no variation. The music was so distracting. I could hear the lyrics and understand them, but it was like my mind was so like, with the music. It just was not, that was definitely the low point for me for sure up to this point, because it was just really terrible. That song was, I had a hard time listening to it, so I couldn't really enjoy that. Then they played Mess Around, which was so good and pulled me back in immediately. So I really liked that. And yeah, so that was pretty cool. After that song, they played Trouble. Again, really good follow-up, a song that a lot of people knew. It definitely has like an overall slower feel, but again, it definitely was awesome. And then he pulled his pants off and had white pants underneath. So yeah, and even like the guitarist kind of got into it. He walked by the barricade, so that was pretty cool. After that, they played a song I've heard but don't know, and it was slower, and it really was actually a good follow-up to Trouble because of that. Like, again, you kind of went from like a really upbeat song to like a slower but upbeat song, and then you get another slower-ish song. And in this song in particular, the lead singer like really made this song seem super exciting. Like, I was so impressed with how I was like just totally involved, and just the way he moved around. And in this particular song, he like did one of those like breakdancing moves where you like kind of like stand on your head and like your arms are up and your feet are up in the air. Super impressed. Just rocked it, man. Just stood there like he was doing a handstand for like a couple seconds, and I was very impressed, and like was just kind of like on the ground for a little bit, just like moving around. Very impressed, and I really liked that song. Definitely brought a lot of energy to a slower song, which was awesome. Then after that, he had the crowd do like repeat haze and like random noises, and so they did that, which was pretty cool. And right after that, went right into Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, which again, for some reason, I guess I thought it would come later, but he definitely made some changes in the singing, so I liked that. Really liked that for sure. And yeah, so he let the crowd, actually in that song, he let the crowd sing the third verse, which really was not an effective like thing, because what happened was I think he let the crowd sing it from the beginning, and I don't think people like knew which verse to sing. So if he had started the verse and then let the people sing, I think they would have been able to handle it, but he kind of like just let them sing, and he was like pointing to the crowd to sing, but I don't think anyone was really knew what to sing. So that was a little bit awkward, but again, great song, really fun to see live as always. After that, they played a song that I didn't know, and like throughout the song there was definitely a higher pitched singing, so the guitarist, one of the guitarists sang, and yeah, he like fell to the floor at one point, and there was like really crazy dancing at the end. So again, that was just like a really like cool song, even though I didn't know it. It was just fun to watch. After that, he sat on the stage and did like this like weird like 4 lines of spoken poetry, and then talked about like if there were any fire builders, and I don't know. He kind of lost me with that. And when he was talking about it, I kind of thought he was going to go into the one song that I was like really, really looking forward to hearing, and then he didn't, and I was like, oh, well, that's not what I was hoping for, so that was a little bit strange. Anyway, so at that point he took off his shirt for the next song, and there was like a half mesh tank underneath. I don't even really know what to call it. It was definitely interesting, but I didn't know the song, and it was a slower song. And then he played House of Glass, which I, again, don't really know too well, but I did know it, and I had heard it before. And I really, really liked it. It has a lot of short, quick lyrics, so I really enjoyed that. I did enjoy House of Glass. I liked that a lot. And then after that, he took off his pants, and he had like red shorts with like orange biker capris underneath. It was just, you know, I can't imagine how hot he must be all the time on stage. So that was, again, just fun. And then played Come a Little Closer, which was awesome. Like, so good. Lots of changes in the bridge, which were fantastic. I really, really liked those changes. And again, really like that there is a lot of variation. And then after that, they played Shake Me Down. And I forget that they play this song every time I see them. The past like 2 times I've seen them, I was like, oh yeah, Shake Me Down. Love that song so much. Like, I just love it in general, but then to see it live, it's just so good, so fantastic. So I really, really liked that song, and it was just really great. But it was kind of weird. So he came up to, actually maybe that's the next song. So then after that, went right into Cigarette Dreams, and again, just like one of those songs that I really love seeing. It's super awesome to see live. But then he went up to the barricade, and there was a lot of feedback, and so definitely something was wrong. And yeah, so I wonder what would have happened if there wasn't feedback, because I feel like he maybe would have like gone into the crowd or something, but it definitely was not happening because of the feedback. And so after that, he played a song that I didn't know, and it just like, oh God, it so killed my vibe. It so badly killed my vibe. Again, it was just like, you played these great songs, and then all of a sudden you play this other song, and I didn't really know it, and I wasn't really feeling it, but they had a sax player, and he was really cool. And this time he did come out into the crowd and stood there, like, and then he kind of like did a handstand in the middle of the crowd, but like, not like, you would think if you did a handstand in the middle of the crowd, you would just be able to see the person's feet. He was like clearly standing, or his hands must have been on someone's like legs or something, because his feet were like up above the crowd. So that was really impressive. And then he like flipped over, so he started on his stomach, he did the handstand, and then ended up on his back. Super impressive. Again, his upper body strength is just like amazing, so that was pretty cool. And then by the time he got back on stage, he was like, well, at this point, like, it's too late for me to like leave again and pretend that I'm doing a encore, so I'm just gonna stay on the stage. And then the best thing in the whole world happened. They played Goodbye, which is the song I was so hoping they would play. If you do not watch Titans, please start watching it and watch the episode with Goodbye in it, because it is fantastic. I was fairly unfamiliar with the song until I saw this show. So good. And then to see it live, I can't even describe to you how fantastic the changes were in this song. The way he sang things, just like really adding emotion to it. And sometimes it was like a little bit contrived feeling, but really for the most part, it was just so good. And so things that also happened, he definitely sang the first 2 lines of the first verse during the second verse, which I'm assuming was a mistake. But then before the last verse, he kind of like went like this to the piano player who was on stage, and which means to me like keep going. And so he kind of like added a mini verse. It was pretty much the same like line or 2 repeated over and over again. So I'm not really sure what it was about, love and like being in love. And then he ended up singing the last verse right after that. So I don't know, that was just like, again, like a kind of a cool touch. And I cannot express to you the emotion behind this, like, singing. Like, it was just so good. Some things were like I wish I could show you. It was just so good. I really loved this song. This was the song that I basically came to see. I've seen Cage the Elephant before, so I've seen a lot of their songs before, but seeing Goodbye was just, and the fact that they saved it towards the end was so, so, so good. I know you know what I'm going to say next. I wish they would have just ended it there, because let me tell you, the next song, I'd heard it, but I didn't know it. It was like just so blah compared to Goodbye. Goodbye was so, so good. So yeah, that was definitely like a moment for me. All right, let's do this score thing. Okay, so opener, Winnetka Bowling League. Wish they had saved their more popular song to the end, or at least CBS, because the song they ended with was not great, and they definitely had another song that was just for me. Lovely the Band was fantastic. Again, Emotion was probably the only song that I was not a huge fan of seeing, but I like seeing the song because the song is fine. It's just not my favorite of theirs, and I think that it was well placed. At least it was in the beginning and not towards the end. The only thing I would say about them is, again, they don't really change anything. It's basically just listening to this CD on loud. And then Cage the Elephant, they definitely had those two songs that killed the vibe twice, and they ended with a song that I was not a huge fan of. But man, seeing Goodbye was so, so good. And every new song off the album was fantastic. The movement was excellent. The random like changes of clothes were like just so impressive. And it was just amazing. It was really, really such a good show. Such a good set to put on. I don't know what to give this. This is hard. I think I'm going to give this one a 9.2. Again, I think that Cage the Elephant is amazing. They do a really nice job with like all of their songs, and it was really impressive. There were definitely at least two low songs for me that just pulled me right out of that vibe that I was in. And I'm so glad they played Goodbye. Please go see that song live at some point. It was just so wonderful, and I was so looking forward to it. And it just, I mean, Above and Beyond doesn't even begin to describe how above and beyond this song went. So I was very, very pleased with that song. And even Social Cues was fantastic. All those like small little changes to songs that they just like, you know, are very popular for. So well done. I really enjoyed seeing their set. And then even the songs they didn't change that much were just, I mean, he was running around the stage and doing all these cool things. So yeah, 9.2. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Were you there? Did you go to a different show? Did you want to go? Yeah, comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.